The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
Welcome to this week's episode of Work the Left Side. Well, in actual fact, it's a cheeky bonus episode. It's slightly shorter than normal, so I just thought I'd put it in there as a cheeky bonus for you all. But just sit down, have a cup of tea, have a little chat with Little Miss Roxxy, and that was it really. So enjoy, and obviously thumbs up, comments. Subscribe if you're not subscribing already, and hit that notify bell as well so you know when new episodes drop. So yeah, that's it really. Just a little cheeky bonus for you all, half an episode, so enjoy.
Okay, so we are joined by Roxxy this week on Work Rampage. How you doing? You right?
Alright. I've got my teeth, that's all good.
All good. Yorkshire tea, of course.
Mm-hmm. Nothing else.
That's the one. So thank you for obviously joining me this week. I know we was meant to do it last week, but you was suffering with a cold. Take it you're feeling better now. All is good.
Oh yeah, although I'm still snotty, so I apologise for
That's fine. Must be. I've had it kind of on and off the last few weeks, so it's not going outside as much. I think it's kind of like when you start going outside now, it messes up with your body a bit.
I think as soon as I don't know about you, but as soon as the weather slightly changes, if it's warm and then it's cold, I'm I'm gonna get a cold.
Yeah, body just goes into shock.
Yeah. No.
So talking about the global bastard as it has been for the last year. Are you coping? You've been doing all right? You're keeping yourself busy, training, getting obviously ready for the big returns?
Something like that.
Yeah. So obviously I presume because we're getting closer to the end now, I presume promotions are starting to get back in contact. You're starting to plan your diary out. You're starting to get shows booked in.
Yes and no. I'm very much at the minute. I don't know. It's one of the things I don't feel like I can get excited yet because I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to happen yet, if you know what I mean. I think once things are up and running, then I'll be all for it. But I'm very much I don't get excited about things unless I'm it's happening. So as much as I really want to get excited, I'm just
you're not going to let yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, until a few shows have been up and running, been successful, no issues, then we can start getting excited that it's kind of back to normal again.
Yeah. I hope it does. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it seems like
I don't want to get my hopes up and then it's it's not happening.
Yeah, no, totally understandable. As I say, you want to sort of stay optimistic but also realistic as well, kind of thing. Makes sense. Obviously, before all of this, I saw you loads of times at Tidal. Obviously, hopefully, when normality sets back in, you'll be back to Tidal at some point in the future when they start doing shows. I spoke to a few people that have worked at Tidal shows. They've always said it's a really fun place to work. How did you find Tidal, the people involved? Did you always enjoy, when you knew that you was heading down to Leeds?
Yeah, loved it. To be honest, it's the really cool thing about Tidal, and to be honest, most places where I get to work for is that we're very much left to our own devices. So we're always learning. We get to try anything we want, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's really nice to kind of be trusted to sort of be just do what you want. You're in control, and Tidal is very much kind of. I think a lot of people love to work for Tidal just because it's where a lot of us have grown and sort of built our characters and just got to see how people react to things. And it's so the fans are great. The fans are so behind everyone. They're just everyone's just for it. It's great.
Yeah, I always remember the atmosphere was always awesome, no matter what venue is. Like obviously they started in the cockpit, went up to like Leeds Uni, then you had the Temple of Boom, but the crowd was always seemed to be like, you know, a 12th man, to use a football term kind of thing.
Yeah, like even like Temple of Boom, it didn't have any lighting or anything, but it was just such a great atmosphere. It was great. It was like, I'm just gonna wrestle in like this like vegan cafe.
Nice. I was speaking to Mr. Dunkerton the other day, and while I was looking through both of your match histories, you two squared off in Tidal. Did you not?
Who's that? Sorry.
Dunkerton, Sugar Dunkerton.
Oh yeah, Sugar. Yeah.
Yeah. I spoke to him the other day, and yeah, it was all about Tidal and stuff. And yeah, I noticed. I thought it was a coincidence. I thought it was quite a cool coincidence. Obviously, I saw both of your names on the Tidal match list for one of the shows. So
Yeah.
well, that was pretty cool. You've been to Germany before, obviously, all this kicked off. How did you find that? Was that your first sort of tour abroad?
I had been to Germany before I wrestled for WXW, and that was for COW, which was Champions of Wrestling. I hadn't been wrestling that long, and I got to wrestle Alpha Female. And then it was nice to go back to Germany because a lot of fans had seen me at that show and then kind of seen how I'd come along. So, but Germany was great. I loved it. It was very much. It's one of those things where it's hard to explain unless you're there, but it's like your little family because like it's so close because you're all in the same apartment and stuff, and just
Okay.
I was so lucky that I got to share like the apartment that had like Sky Smithson and Ryan Remington, and there was a couple of other people. But like I was so lucky that I had them too, because like we honestly we just had so much fun. We laughed, like we would go to the ring and just like train together, and then we'd work out together. We were like our own little family, and we just were like crazy. It was great.
That's awesome. So obviously, another box to be ticked once. I keep saying when normality sets back in, but that's really obviously looking forward. You know, that's one of the things I want to try and look at. So obviously, you get invited back. You're there in a heartbeat. You know, you want sort of any other countries you want to sort of go over to that you've been to. Would you head over to Japan if you was invited?
Yeah, I'd love to go to Japan just to kind of. It's just one of those things where, again, it's just such an experience, and it's great because our fans are great. Like the German fans are so like intense and involved in it as well. That it's hard to like eat. Every fan's like different, and it's just like I know Japan. Like I've heard that the fans are like really intense there as well. So it's just like it's great to kind of like meet people who like love wrestling for what it is. Like they just love it, like everything about it. And like Germany's the same, where they just loved it. They just loved anything different. They were like, oh my god, like they just appreciated it. Like a lot of like the British fans, it's just like it's just nice to kind of go somewhere and people like appreciate like what you do and like what you're trying to do and kind of like stick with you and just like kind of believe in you a little like that sort of thing. So it's great.
It's awesome because obviously I know you've been in the ring with obviously Kaylee Ray, B Priestley, two of the big names. I would sort of say that have been and gone through Japan as well. So assuming they've told you stories about what it's like over there, the fans. So yeah, fingers crossed because that's definitely got to be one of a big box to be ticked if you get a chance to go over. We'll do a little origin story. I saw you tweet out a couple of weeks ago about Amy Dumas's birthday. Obviously, big Lita fan, I presume. An inspiration into you getting into wrestling.
Yeah. Growing up, it was like the Hardy Boys and Lita, and it was very much the era of the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, and it was when all the TLC ladders, like TLC matches, it was like I can't even speak, like the TLC ladder matches, like all that kind of thing. And then it was when it was like Trish, Stephanie. I don't know. That was when I like loved it, and like China. So
yeah. So, is you a China fan or a Lita fan? So it's a bit like the Elvis and the Beatles. Is it one or the other, or were you just equally in awe of both of them?
kind of both, because although I fell in love with wrestling for Lita, like I could appreciate China and like how she changed the women's division, and just like when she came back and like became like the women's champion, like it was just great because she was just like so like badass, and it was kind of like it was very much the sort of like you didn't have to be like this like perfect looking kind of woman, like if you know like, and I don't mean that in a sort of like that she was like anything other than like an amazing woman, but it kind of like, and like people like Lita, it was kind of like if you were alternative, it was nice to have like, oh, you can still do it instead of having to be like blonde, like big boobs and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, and that's nothing against like, because do you know what I mean? Like, if I was born like that, I'd like be living life. You know? Do you know what I mean? Like, nothing against that, but like,
yeah.
it was just nice to sort of see something a bit like out of the
Oh,
ordinary.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. It's not like your typical, and not no besmirchment to these people, but like no, like Kelly or Candice, yeah, like I say, just the ones that were hired more on the looks and then learned to wrestle.
yeah,
These
like
people were actually,
yeah. Saying that because obviously like Trish, she was hired because she was like a fitness model, but she kicked ass. Like she put the effort, like put the time in, and she's like amazing. So like I know it works both ways, but when I was younger, it was like more that I could relate to like the Hardy Boys and Lita more than I would relate to like the other women, just because I was always like the like the weird kid at school, so to speak. Like, but then like I'm a twin, so like if people tried to like talk to me, I'd be like, "Are you lost? Like, I have my one friend, thanks. Like, go away."
you're quite happy. That's it. Just
Yeah,
you be alone. But
yeah,
yeah, no, I think Amy Dumas. I think Lita's was a huge influence on a lot of people.
yeah,
Yeah, obviously women at that time, like you said, it was just nice to see an alternative looking female kind of thing. Yeah, not your stereotypical WWE manufactured model kind of thing. So yeah, no, she was awesome. She had the best theme tune as well, to be fair. So uh,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. But if anybody's wondering, it's Boy Hits Car. Go check it out. It's by far second, well, just better than Edge's. So yeah, obviously talks about Germany, Japan, Leah. The most important question though is the Greg's sponsorship. Has that gone through yet? Have they contacted you?
No,
Oh, what?
yeah. I've not left the house since. I'm waiting.
Well, that could be the goal. Get Tidal to do some sort of partnership with Greg's and just have a big banner for you when you come out.
Oh, even Yorkshire tea, any, I'd take them. You know.
So, yeah, names mentioned. Let's say like B Priestley, Kaylee Ray. Had Molly Spartan on the show previously. She was just full of praise for you. She obviously loved working with you. But I noticed again when I was looking through a lot of the research, it's not so much like a clique, but there was you, Lana Austin, and Molly Spartan that always seemed to work really well together. I presume obviously that's like a friendship and a unity that you've built up through training, through being on the road.
I think a lot of it's like chemistry. Like sometimes you just have I love Molly, I love Lana, but sometimes it's like in the ring you can just have like great chemistry with people, and it's so nice when you kind of meet people that you do sort of bounce so well off. Like there's a Jamie Hayter as well. Like I love wrestling her just because I think, to be honest, I think like she couldn't have a bad match anyway. Like just like Kaylee Ray, like Jamie, like she could wrestle like a bin bag and make it look great. But like there's like certain people where they just like have great chemistry with like anyone who they wrestle, and it's so nice when you have these people that like as soon as you get in the ring with, like you have so much fun, because I think like that comes across in the crowd, like to the crowd, that it's just like you can tell that like we're just enjoying ourselves and
Yeah.
just trying our best.
No, definitely. It's like sort of say it's like when you're watching films or TV shows. Like the best ones are when you can tell people are having fun doing it. It radiates
Yeah,
through, kind of thing, and you have fun watching it. Yeah,
yeah.
wrestling I'd say is very on point with that, because yeah, as long as you're having fun, we're having fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously we all like take it very seriously, but to a certain extent as well, we've got to remember like also when we're in the ring, we can't take ourselves too seriously, because we're basically like famous for wrestling and our underpants, so to speak. So it's like it's nice when you can kind of let go of yourself and just sort of like have fun, and it is
Yeah,
great like that, like with Molly, Lana, Kaylee Ray, like Viper. Like to be honest, it's like there's so many girls where it's like ladies that it's great because you just like everyone wants the best and like we're all in it together. So it's like we just got to stick together and like just go crazy and like try things out.
Well, that's cool because it could be, sometimes you think it could be like worst case scenarios, people just being out for themselves or, people not being supportive of other people, trying to keep them. So that's awesome to hear, that you've all got each other's backs. You're all sort of helping each other, push up and just better yourselves.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll go back to the origin thing again. Obviously, we talked about later, talked about inspirations. How did you get into wrestling in the first place? Did you see an advert for a school? Did you sort of just think, I'm going to try this? Was it through a friend, like referred?
It's one of the things where it's like I always loved wrestling growing up when I was at school. And then I would always joke I was going to be a wrestler when I was older. And then I don't know how to word this, but I found a wrestling school and I went to the wrong wrestling school, but it ended up being the best wrong wrestling school that I went to. And it like this from there, it just kind of just took off really. It was one of the things where it's like I never ever planned for it to happen, but then it was just like I went with kind of you just go with the flow. It's not one of those things where it was like it was never meant like I never like planned for it to like happen, but then I obviously trained like Rampage at school, and then from there like just kind of what took off. No looking back since.
That's the key word. That seems to be a recurring theme on all of these shows when I start talking about British wrestling is Rampage. That's the one name that everybody kind of comes up with. Molly referred to him as the Obi-Wan of British wrestling. It's just basically, the dude will sort of train you up and you're going to be awesome kind of thing. If you obviously give it you all as well. But yeah, if you've been trained by Rampage, that pretty much speaks volumes of yourself as a performer. How did you find it training with him? Was he obviously, because in ring the dude's scary as fuck. I'm not gonna, you see him and it's like, oh shit. But yeah, I presume obviously he's a gentle giant when needs be. Put you through the courses. What was a good trainer?
Yeah, to be honest, because like I've trained obviously Rampage, did some with like Dean Allmark, Germany, and it was like you kind of found that you learned the most when it was like people didn't like BS you, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Do you mean like you could ask people for like to like watch your matches and stuff, and you would learn nothing from the people who were like, oh yeah, it was fine. Like, but you learned more from the people who were like this, like. And like I've always been very lucky that I've always been surrounded with people who have always wanted me to get better instead of like sort of like wrap me up in cotton wool and be like, oh, like you're doing well kind of thing. Like instead of like trying to tell me what to work on. So I've always been like very lucky that I've been surrounded by people who are like sort this out, like sort your life out.
Well, it's constructive criticism, isn't it? It's all right to
Yeah.
people telling you what you're doing wrong. If they can then tell you how to do it right.
Yeah,
that's worth its weight in gold.
Because even obviously like HT Drake, like Screwface, they're all, like they're both the same. Where because they've been doing it for so long as well, and like they know what they're talking about. They're like they're very much their mentality is like we're not women's wrestlers, we're wrestlers.
Yeah.
So like why should we wrestle any differently? And like it was like great because it's like the amount of people that would just be like, oh yeah, like that was good, like, and you were like, well. I want to learn something, and it was like nice that they would like sort of like just tell you straight. So
critique it a little bit. So yeah, like I say, just point out the good, point out the bad.
yeah.
That's obviously every time I sort of see you, see Drake's been at Tidal, you've been at Tidal.
He very much took me under his wing, and to be fair, it is nice that people do see us as a kind of power thing, because if I'm being compared to like HT Drake, then I've got no qualms with that because he's like amazing in the ring. And to be honest, a lot of the stuff I do is very much based on his ideas of like kind of like my ideas and him helping me along. So like, yeah.
The scene in the Northeast seems to be, well, it was just kind of getting on fire before obviously all this kind of shut down and everything. So wrestling in Newcastle Northeast, I'm presuming there's some new promotions opening up when again normality sets back in. Are you looking to be obviously more involved in what's going on up north?
Yeah, just purely because I think a lot of us have worked our asses off to get the scene in the northeast, like the northeast, to like have a good reputation. Because like before, when I first started like wrestling, it has like such like a bad reputation. It was like almost like a bit of a joke. Like it was like it's not very nice to kind of think that people would see it as that. So I kind of know that like a lot of us have like worked our asses off, like Rory Coyle, like HG Drake, like obviously Rampage. Like as soon as he came thundering down here, like up here, like we're set. Like, and we're very lucky that, and then we've obviously got like people like Shreddy coming along, like, and we're so, and like obviously Alexander Henry, like people like that. We're so lucky that we've got like this sort of influx of like great like people and like athletes and stuff, that it's kind of like try and make fun of the northeast scene now, because like we've got some like good stuff coming on. So
There's
so many.
What's that? Sorry,
there's so many guys. Like there's like we've got Big Rig. I don't know what his wrestling name is. I don't want to say what's his name. We've got like there's a couple of guys like there's that are going to be coming out of the like sort of scene soon, and it's just like really exciting to sort of see like what they're gonna do as well.
Awesome, because you got Prime starting up there soon, aren't you? It's a promotion called Prime. I keep seeing advertised. I'm sure that's going to be based up that area.
Yeah.
Like Ian Slater, Drake, guys like that, sort of at the helm kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that in itself is obviously a huge boost. I always kind of saw Newcastle as you always just saw a lot of guys from ICW coming down to Newcastle. So obviously it's quite close. So I always presumed, it would start to get a lot better, because a lot of the guys that were coming down from ICW would sort of help influence it, and I presume obviously work with the people that were local.
Yeah.
Did you obviously get a chance to work with obviously the ICW people coming down? Molly, is that where sort of the Newcastle, was it kind of like very much an influence of the Scottish talent coming down to help?
Not for me personally, maybe the other guys, like I don't know, but like obviously we were lucky that we had like Kaylee Ray dead close, like the Owen twins, like and obviously Molly. But I can't really speak on behalf of like the guys and stuff, because obviously didn't really.
No, that's fine. I'm just presuming kind of thing, like I say, because you'd always sort of see ICW touring in Newcastle, so I always kind of thought there must be some sort of working relationship. So
yeah, I was very lucky that I did get to work for ICW quite early on, like starting out wrestling kind of thing, because I kind of think maybe I wouldn't have got that opportunity if Scotland wasn't so close.
Yeah,
and that that did like massively help. So.
How did you find that? Because obviously when I watch like the pay-per-views and you see the highlights from an ICW show, I've said it before, it kind of seems like the closest thing to ECW outside of ECW, with the fans just being just so sort of into it and the atmosphere. I could only liken it to watching an ECW thing. Is that how you found it up there? Did you enjoy it? Was it intense?
Yeah, it was great. It was so out there and crazy that I almost felt like I just fitted right in. I was like, whoa, this is like my kind of thing. It's just like a big circus. Like it was so fun. Like it just, again, it's like it has like that sort of representation, but like the people behind the scenes like take it so seriously, and they're like again, it's just like everyone wants the best for everyone. Like everyone wants like it's for it to go like be taken further and further kind of thing. So it's just,
that's cool.
Yeah, they like made you feel so welcome as well. So.
That's good. Because again, that must have been intimidating, because obviously ICW were a big brand at the time. You're stepping in there, as you sort of said, it was early doors in your career. So it would have been very easy to be, I suppose, nervous as hell walking through.
Yeah.
So as long as they made you feel welcome. Any future plans, any dream opponents, anybody, that you're wanting to get into the ring with when we get back to shows every month?
I've like loved working everyone who I've worked with anywhere, and I'm kind of excited to kind of see where a lot of like the new people are gonna kind of go, because like to me that's like I just want the northeast scene to have a good reputation. that's all I care about.
Oh, that's fair. Are you helping sort of in the train? Are you at a point in your career now where you can kind of pass on knowledge, or are you still soaking up the knowledge?
No, I wouldn't. I don't believe like I have experience, but I would never ever put myself in that position. But I'm more than happy to sort of like if people want to talk to me about it, like I will. But like I would never put myself out there to be like, hi, like I know what I'm talking about because like I'm still like so new to it anyway. So, but
Yeah,
then
no.
I'd always want to help someone if they like wanted like came to me. I would like do all I could to help them. So
That's it. So if they approached you and asked for help, more than willing to obviously help, pass on some wisdom, but you're not going to step up and then sort of, be there.
especially around here, like what I kind of think personally, like what can I teach someone that they wouldn't learn from like going to like Rampage's training school or something, like or like speaking to like Screwface, like or like HT Drake, or like do you mean like we've got these guys kicking around? Like why would you want to talk to me? Like I don't know anything. I'm like just ask them. They know.
I'm sure you actually probably know more than you give yourself credit for. But yeah, I know what you mean. I'm sort of exactly the same kind of personality in the sense of like, if somebody asks, I'll tell you, but I'm not going to sort of put myself forward to tell you what to do kind of thing. It's not my place to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get that. You mentioned Dean Ormock earlier. He seems to be a guy that's been around for sort of years. Is widely regarded as being one of the best in Britain by the workers and a lot of the fans. How was it like training with him? Obviously, he's more of an aerial guy. Did he sort of work on like the speed aspect with you, or that side of things, or was it more the space?
To be honest, because at the time, like it was very much, I was still very, very new. Um, and I was very lucky that he like did take the time to go through like a lot of basics with me and just sort of, yeah, it was more like sort of show me things that how I could do it, like as a sort of smaller opponent, because he's like obviously smaller. So it's like nice to sort of see that side of it. Like so he just was like like his mind, he can take one thing and like run away with it and like show you like from one thing he can like just take you to like 200 different things and you're like, oh my, like how did you get there?
Yeah, it does. It's seems like a very, very cool guy. Obviously, he knows the scene more than a lot of people probably nowadays. Kind of things. He's obviously classed him as a veteran of the British scene. So you always kind of see him going out and about on the holiday camps. Is that a scene you've experienced or would look into in the future? Because you hear some stories about like it's a rite of passage kind of thing, especially for British wrestlers.
Yeah, I've done the camps before and I loved it. I thought it was great. I was
Is it
all
just like
for
a
it.
solid 6 weeks of traveling and show, travel, show
Um,
kind of?
I didn't do like the 6 weeks. I did like, I think I did maybe, I did like a couple of weekends, maybe like a week, but then it was like scattered about. But you did fine. Like sometimes you were wrestling like twice a day.
Yeah,
But yeah, I loved it. I just thought it was great.
good, yeah.
Like I was all for it.
So like your Butlins and your Havens and your Golden
Yeah,
Sands and things.
yeah, loved it.
That's quality. But they sort of say it's a totally different sort of vibe. Obviously, it's like when you do the nighttime shows at like you say Tidal or ICW and things like that. But it's more of a fun uh, experience, I would say. Going forward, if you can pick, I'll put you on the spot. Dream opponent. Anyone in Brit West or abroad. If they came to you and said, right, we will give you any match, who do you want it to be?
Maybe Mickie James because I think
Oh,
she'd be dead fun.
and she's available as of like the 14th of July. She could be available.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. That's a good shout because again, going back to like the Lita era and stuff like that in WWE, so when Mickie James turned up doing the stalker thing with Trish, yeah, she's an awesome performer. So I think she would definitely, yeah, just have an awesome match. And like you said, you could pick her brain. You'd probably learn so much from her as well.
I think she's one of those like wrestlers as well that like obviously when you were younger you were just like because like Lita looked class, Whereas like it's as you got older, you appreciate these other wrestlers like even more so, like Victoria, like Ivory. Like you kind of realize that they were actually really good at the jobs, like in like Jazz. Because I was like, when I remember when there was like Lita and Jazz or like Trish and Jazz, I was like, I hated Jazz. Then as I got older, I was like, she was just. It wasn't that like I hated her. She just was like that good at a job that I was like, God, kick her head in, like go
Yeah,
on,
that's
Trish.
it.
Yeah,
Total heel. You totally bought her as a
yeah.
heel. You liked
Just
her.
yeah, and just like as you got older, you kind of realize like, hold on, like these like ladies were great, like they're class. Like Dean
Well, that's it.
Malenko as well, like he's great.
Yes. Oh yeah, he's obviously probably one of the most technically sound. He's always been kind of, you had like obviously him, Guerrero, the Radicals, who are all sort of technically sound in the ring. But yeah, Malenko is like obviously the man of 1,001 holds, and like out of those, like the most technically advanced kind of thing. So that says
Yeah.
loads. But like I say, when you look back, yeah, I don't appreciate him at the time. I remember seeing Malenko obviously when he turned up and just being like laughing at the James Bond kind of spoofy, creepy character thing that they gave him, but you didn't realize how good he was.
Yeah.
So, well, am I right in saying that you've mainly worked face, or I don't ever recall you seeing you as a heel? I don't know if I've missed any sort of shows or you have worked heel, but have you worked heel or you just mainly been face? You have.
Yeah, a few times.
What's better, making people cheer or making people boo?
Bit of both, because I
What's
think
easier?
naturally, I think it kind of, I think I'm a bit of a, I'm quite sassy as a human. So sometimes I find it easier to think of like being a bit of a bum. Like I kind of because I think it's from like having a big like coming from like being a twin maybe that I can give sass. Like I'm good at being like, oh well, meh. Whereas like sometimes I find I have to be like my best behavior to be a good guy.
People say it's harder to make somebody cheer you than it is to boo you. It's easier to go out there, like so you give a bit of sass, just getting people's faces. It's easier to make somebody dislike you than it is to like you. I always find that interesting. Like we're talking, to wrestlers, whether
Yeah,
that is the
like
case kind of thing.
I find it funny to like like to pick at someone till I know I can be like keep going to annoy the living hell out of them. I, I'm so good at it as well. I'm just like, yeah. Like, just like put the final blow in, like, yeah, go on.
Like,
Whereas,
I
like,
suppose as well, if you do it in character, you can kind of lose your inhibitions a little bit. You can be a twat if you want to be a twat, and
yeah,
they know it's not really you. You're just playing a character, but so that frees you up
yeah. So I'm just a
to go.
massive bell end. So it's like it's so natural.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like, oh, we'll just think, it's just a character. Roxy's not really like that. But you just turn it up to 11. Jobs are good, and then innit? You just
Yeah.
be full on douche mode.
Oh,
So everybody says heel though. Everybody, I've never spoken to anyone yet that sort of says, "Oh, I prefer being a face." It's like, nah, being the bad guy's always much more fun.
I think because I'm like teeny tiny with crazy hair, a lot of people are like, oh, and then I'm like, meh.
Yeah, like random questions. Obviously, do you still watch WWE and everything like that now, or is it just kind of like you do it so you're not too bothered about watching the
Um,
big shows?
no, to be honest, I watched like I'm not gonna lie, during lockdown, I did kind of like completely lose interest a little bit in wrestling, and it just was because it was very much like I think it was more because it wasn't happening, if you know what I mean. So there's like
Yeah,
to me, I was like, I don't want to watch something that like I can't do right now. But then
yeah.
like I did kind of kick myself with the bum a bit, and like I love like NXT, I love like New Japan, and I love watching just like random wrestling, like just on YouTube.
So you
I
say you
should
watch NXT?
Yeah, just NXT. On like WWE, it's just literally NXT. But then I do like watching ICW and Progress shows, and but other than that, it's New Japan, Stardom, stuff like that. So
Yeah. So obviously,
like I
ICW
like I like
Progress show.
wrestling for wrestling. That's what I like it for.
So,
So
so you watch it more for the technical side, just for the matches. Do you find yourself sitting there, kind of breaking it down, being like, "Oh, I would have done this, I would have been done that," or do you just let yourself go and enjoy it?
No, to be honest, I just watch it like as a fan, if you know what I mean. Like, I just like people, like watching people get the crap beat out of them. I'm like, go on, kick the Reds in, like, nothing.
That's cool, because I mean, wrestling fans are the worst sometimes, for criticizing stuff or nitpicking at stuff or just being gnarly about stuff. So I can imagine it being even worse if like you did it, kind of thing. But yeah, it's just nice to sit there and watch it and enjoy it. I think a lot of people have lost that art when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah.
Just they want to sit there and actually moan about it more than enjoy it nowadays. So that's cool. It's good that you can just, like I say, enjoy it for what it is. It's obviously something that everybody loved back in the day, because you won't be doing what you're doing now if you didn't
Yeah.
love it at some point. So at least you've still got that love for it, and it's not. Yeah, worst thing I can imagine is if it kind of beat it out of you and you ended up not enjoying it because it's what you do for a living and it just became a job.
Yeah.
So, any other promotions out there that get your fancy? Anything that you sort of do you keep up with, like AEW? Do you keep up with anything that's going on over that side, or Impact? Because I know obviously you mentioned Jazz earlier. Obviously she's just been on like Impact recently.
All I really see of that is just like snippets. Just because, like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't actually really watch a lot of TV. I'm very much like, I really don't. I'm kind of like a bit of a hermit. Like, I just like live in my own little world. Like, and I love it. It's great. Like, so I would like to see more of that kind of stuff, but I don't even have like normal TV like to watch any of it. So
Nothing good on anyway, to be fair. So you're not missing anything. I
yeah.
just kind of wondered if you like for inspiration, if you still look at other talents out there and think, okay, I like that, I might borrow that, or I might kind of take it. And because I know there was a big thing a while ago about people stealing other people's moves and all this kind of stuff, but I don't think there's a move out there that hasn't been done by somebody else or hasn't been kind of bastardized. And I just wonder.
Yeah, I'm very much like similar thinking, where I think now in wrestling nothing's original. So it's kind of like you just have to put your own twist on it. Like, I honestly can't think of like something that didn't source from somewhere or something. And I kind of think people need to like not look at it like that someone's like stealing moves, but sometimes it's like you just kind of think like you just got to put your own twist on it. Like,
Make it your own, make it unique
yeah,
to you. Yeah, it's never going to be 100% unique, but it could be
yeah,
unique to Roxy. That could be how Roxy does it. It's like, okay, that's cool.
yeah,
It's like with the DDT, everybody kind of delivered it. You always kind of knew Jake the Snake's DDT because of the leg swing. It was still a DDT, but he made it unique to him.
yeah, exactly. Or even
So
like, I find if there's something, because like I always like doing like the double knees and stuff, like, and I was like, how can I make it my own? So I just call it the knee bosh, because it's like obviously it's something that we say in the tune, so it's just like put my own little twist on it, and it's just stuff like just naming it, make like something that just makes it like yours, so to
yeah,
speak.
it makes it memorable. We think of it. We obviously think of Roxy. That's
Yeah.
Nibosh. Do you find yourself still drawing inspiration from things that you see then, or are you kind of like, do you just pull closer from home for like people that you're training with or people that you're on the road with, or do you still get inspiration from watching it on TV?
Yeah, like all of that together. Like, I see stuff that I like mainly like Twitter's great for it. I love Twitter. And just like old like World of Sport matches. There's like some great guys that you just like when you just even just scrolling, and then sometimes I'm like on YouTube, because you watch one thing, something else will pop up, and like
Go down the
there's
rabbit
so
hole.
yeah, it's great. Like, you just sit and you're like, oh wow, like there's so many, like there's things that I watch that I know I'll never be able to do, because like it's so, like intricate. So I'm just like, that's great. So like a lot of like we'll share it between, like we have like a group of us that will share it in there, and like if it's something really cool that I think someone else would, I'm like, this is kind of something you might like, but then people do it to me as well. So like we all just kind of like, hey, have you tried this? Like,
That's awesome. Again, that's obviously each other helping each other out and sort of like helping you
yeah.
through. So
Right.
legitimately thank you so much, and I will, like I say, I'll plug all the stuff in the video and whatnot as well. So
Yeah.
Roxy, thank you so much though.
Thank you.
I'll let you go.